随着金融危机的深入，这些人的命运呢也发生了戏剧性的变化。雷曼的 CEO 可以说是落魄不堪，贝尔斯登的 CEO 无颜面对世人，两房的 CEO 在诟病声中被轰了下台。更多的 CEO 们也是正在经历他们职业生涯中不曾想象过的炼狱。然而有这样一位 CEO 现在却在笑看风云，他就是世界上最让人敬畏的银行家，在危机中一跃成为全美市值最大、存款最多的银行摩根大通的全球主席 CEO 吉米·戴蒙。我们一起来认识他。
有华尔街神童之称的杰米·戴蒙，早在他35岁时就成为财富全球500强中最年轻的 CEO。他从不惧怕在金融界掀起一股股风浪，制造一场场轰动。事实上，他也正是这么做的。在华尔街的众多银行家中，戴蒙无疑是最受瞩目、最受人追捧，又是最令人恐惧的一个。当年，他曾追随华尔街传奇人物桑迪·威尔一手建立了花旗金融帝国，后来又戏剧性的与威尔反目，并于1998年离开了花旗。但银行业是他生命中不可或缺的一部分。在沉寂1年多之后，他决定东山再起。在很短的时间内，戴蒙就成功地改造了病入膏肓的美伊银行。2004年年初，他又促成了美伊银行与摩根大通的合并。当时的摩根大通虽然有着超过150年历史，但在过去15年间表现得沉闷而被动，与行业领先者差距巨大。2005年，摩根大通的净利润达到84.8亿美元，同期花旗集团的利润为246亿美元，美国银行为164.65亿美元。2006年1月1日，戴蒙正式出任摩根大通 CEO。消息一经披露，当天摩根大通的股票上涨了2.8%。在进入摩根大通华贵殿堂的同时，戴蒙把成本杀手给带了过去。他带领一个全新的摩根大通，不断冲击着新的高度。10年前，在被花旗传奇的前 CEO 桑迪·威尔扫地出门后，戴蒙开始练习拳击。现在他被称为华尔街最凶的人，不过他懂得进退有度。沧海横流，方显英雄本色。摩根在美国次贷危机中的表现，无疑向人们证明了戴蒙一次战略性对手的正确性。金融天才，华尔街的传奇人物，世界上最让人敬畏的银行家，这些称谓都是人们对同一个人的评价，他就是美国摩根大通公司 CEO 杰米·戴蒙。
就在华尔街风暴如火如荼之际，摩根大通全球主席 CEO 吉米·戴蒙呢也来到了中国，我也对他做了独家专访。此时此刻，就在我们经济频道即将首播与吉米·戴蒙的独家专访之际，全球的财经媒体也都在和你我一起期待着，他们也在等待着转载这个没有在欧美的财经媒体上出现的独家深度电视专访。这位被全球的财经媒体追捧的金融界巨子，现在说的每一句话、每一个字都有可能让欧美的股市是大起大落。正因为如此，他被媒体称作是目前华尔街最有影响力的人。让我们一起来听听他是如何带领摩根大通成功躲避金融风暴，并且跃上新境界的。Jimmy, it's a pleasure to have you with us on CCTV's Economic Channel. It's a real privilege at this time of the crisis.
It's nice to be here. Thank you.
And Jimmy, the first question is, we all know that it would be an overstatement to say that JP Morgan emerged from the crisis unscathed. Your stock has been going down, but still it outperformed most of your rivals. And you have been hailed by the media as the man of the moment. So how did it feel?
Yeah, I think all of us at JP Morgan are very careful to make clear that our shareholders and everyone understands we made plenty of mistakes too. So we're not declaring victory yet, and we spend a lot of time this coming looking back at the mistakes we made, not just the things we did well. So, but I feel battered and bruised, but still standing and fighting.
But I still remember that 3 or 4 years ago when we met at the Yale Media Summit, the Yale CEO Summit, and consequently at the World Economic Forum event, you were among the first bankers to weather the storm. So how did you manage to manage the risk so well, and also manage to operate 2 major acquisitions during the crisis?
So I think part of the answer is we've always believed in having what I call a fortress balance sheet. but it's not just a philosophical thing. It means conservative accounting, plenty of capital, and also running your business knowing that sometimes there's going to be really bad weather ahead of you, and you can't predict exactly what's going to happen. So, preparation to me is half the name of the game, and so we always run a little scared, and that kind of put us in good position here. The acquisitions, were a function of the same thing: being prepared, having the capital, and maybe more importantly, having the management team who can execute them. Because you could have all the money in the world, but if you don't have the people who can execute it, I mean systems, marketing, sales, operations, technology, in addition to salesmen, traders, etc., you can't do acquisitions like that.
We all know that you were one of the creators of Citigroup, and in your own words, you got fired in 1998, and some say you're feeling a sweet sense of revenge now, given the fact that Citi is in a swoon. Is that true?
No. It's true I was fired, but I have a lot of friends at Citi, and I don't watch anyone suffer, nor do I think in any way, shape, or form we do better because one other person does worse. I make the assumption in life, which I think all people, and I think maybe all walks of life should, we are going to have tough competition. It's going to come from banks around the world, including Chinese banks. We have to be prepared for that tough competition. If you think that one company having a tough time makes you better, it does not. And in fact, I think it puts you on the rosy trail to failure. So, I don't wish a failure in anyone. I just want to make sure our company does well for our shareholders and our employees and our customers.
We all know that J.P. Morgan is increasingly a universal bank, and now it is probably the largest bank in the United States in terms of market value and the size of deposits. So probably the future direction and the prospects of J.P. Morgan also pretty much determines the future direction of American banking industry. Would you mind sharing with us your ideas on that?
Again, I go back to the customer. So, if you're a corporate customer or a small business customer, individual, what I worry about and our company worries about every day is giving you the products and services that make us competitive. So, if you look at consumers, how do we do that? It's not because we're guessing. We've got better systems, more people, better products, better service. We make them cheaper to you. We bundle them in ways that you like it. We give rewards packages in a way that you say, I want to own this, I want to do business with that company. So that's what we worry about every day.
When it comes to the China part of J.P. Morgan, I assume it is still a small part of your global business. But would you mind telling us if this crisis also affected your business in China?
One thing, before I talk about that, one thing I should mention is I do look like, maybe it won't be just me, but my successors, Chinese banks are going to be competing around the globe. They're going to get better and faster and quicker and smarter, and they're going to start acquiring things overseas. So, we know that. I mean, that book hasn't been written yet, but someone is going to write that book somewhere. And, China, we've been doing business in China, I think, since J.P. Morgan, some of the predecessor companies like Chase, since like 1906. And I don't think you go into a country kind of stop-start. I think you go and you try to be there permanently and build servicing clients. While you do that, you've got to earn the respect of the people. So we're going to be investing here for a long time. We've almost solely been on the wholesale side, like corporate clients and the like. But we hope to grow and expand over time. We're ambitious. We don't hope to do everything overnight. We'll be very patient. We think China has a great success, and hopefully China will be happy for having had us here too.
Some say investment banks is on the brink of distinction, and that it will disappear from the banking community. Some say it'll always be there. What's your take on this?
I think when you talk about investment banking, if you talk about advising corporations, that's not going to go away. If you talk about raising capital globally, whether equity or debt, that's not going to go away. So a lot of the products and services and what people do for corporations isn't going to go away. Will it change a little bit and have different regulations? Yes. Advising investors and making markets and securities, is that going to go away? No. I think you'll see some of the highly leveraged products disappear. So I think it will morph and change, but I don't think fundamentally the products and services are going to go away.
The two of the world's major investment banks have been called banking corporations now. So what will be the new shape of investment banking?
Remember, a lot of banking what you call investment banking was already making corporate loans, advising individuals, and doing a lot of things that I would have said banks did that already come together much more than people think. And when you look at consolidation in big companies, I think you have to ask the question, not what's good for you, what you like, and what model do you believe in. You've got to ask the question, what works for the consumer? So if I can give the consumer something better or quicker or faster, then size counts. To be size just for size alone, it doesn't mean anything unless you as a consumer get something better. If you look at global industries, financial services being one, but autos, telecom, pharmaceutical, steel, that's the point of size. Getting economies of scale so you can give the customer something better. Telecom equipment, aircraft, software, and I can go on and on. And so, again, you got to build great products and services, and that's why you want to be bigger. Size on its own has negatives. Bureaucracy, hubris, all the things which can destroy large institutions.
You're a master of mergers and acquisitions, and when it comes to China's strategy in buying into multinationals and particularly financial institutions on Wall Street, some say the best strategy is to probably buy into 3 or 4 among the best of them, and some say you never know which are the best, which are the worst, so why not buy maybe 2 to 3% or 4% of, let's say, 20 companies? What might be the right approach in your opinion?
That's a very tough question. I think first of all the question is, are you an investor? In which case I think diversifying a little bit makes sense, but we don't tend to do that ourselves. Because I'd rather just have one partner, invest in it, give it our full heart and soul, make it work, and do it forever. Not to do it to sell it in 5 or 7 years. So, to me, you build the business and you keep on building and try to do it with the right people. Will
it be an overstatement to say that Jamie Dimon is the single most influential person at the moment on Wall Street?
I think it would be a tremendous overstatement, yes. And I'm one person at a company with 200,000 people, and we're all a little bit like fireflies. We have our day in the sun, and then we have our problems. So I'm just still trying to do the best I can.
摩根大通在这次的金融风暴当中成长为美国市值最大的银行，但是呢，有人成长，也有人萎缩。让我们再来回顾一下，在这次华尔街金融风暴当中被吞噬的金融机构。
3月16日，摩根大通以每股2美元收购贝尔斯登，这个价格按当天的收盘价约30美元计算，折价率高达93%。7月18日，为0.45亿美元出售彭博20%股份，同日爆出其2季度净亏损49亿美元。9月15日，美国银行440亿美元收购美林证券。9月16日，雷曼兄弟宣布申请破产保护。美联储则宣布将向 AIG 提供850亿美元紧急贷款。9月17日，摩根士丹利股价盘中暴挫93%，收盘时下跌24%，与美国第4大商业银行美联银行接洽，商讨合并可能性。9月21日晚间，美国联邦储备委员会批准了摩根士丹利成为银行控股公司的申请，同时，美联储批准高盛集团成为银行控股公司。9月25日，华盛顿误会银行被美国联邦存款保险公司查封接管，成为美国史上最大的倒闭银行。当日便被摩根大通以19亿美元收购。9月29日和10月3日，花旗集团和富国集团相继宣布准备收购美联银行。10月7日，美国政府宣布从即日起接管陷入困境的美国2大住房抵押贷款融资机构房利美和房地美。10月9日，美联储声明将向 AIG 再次提供现金援助，该笔总额不超过378亿美元的资金将用于补充 AIG 的现金流动性。
华尔街金融风暴从爆发到现在已经快2个月了，然而关于系统性崩溃的危机是否已经彻底度过的讨论从来就没有停止过。在接下来的日子里，美国的经济乃至全球经济又会受到多大冲击，何时才能恢复，更是众说纷纭。在我们独家专访摩根大通全球主席吉米·戴蒙的时候，他也提出了他的观点。
Very debatable whether we've seen the worst of the financial crisis. Most economists believe that we've seen the worst crisis or the worst moment of the crisis already behind us, meaning that a systematic meltdown of the international financial system is basically gone. But the German finance minister said a couple of days ago that we're being overly optimistic. What do you think?
I think you got to separate kind of this financial crisis and maybe the chance that it would have gone really terrible from, we're going to have the hangover of a terrible recession. So I think we've probably averted a really bad outcome in the financial world, but you do have this kind of systematic global slowdown. So I don't think anyone really knows how deep the recession will be in any particular country, and it's something we should be very conscious and careful about.
You once said, what were we doing a few years ago regarding the subprime mortgage mess? What did you mean?
Yeah, I probably said about a few things. I think I remember saying that specifically about CDO squareds. There were some financial products out there which, in hindsight, we didn't do a lot of them, but in hindsight, they were just too complicated. They shouldn't have been done. And I put SIVs in that category. If you look at SIVs, structured investment vehicles, it's hard to really figure out what the business purpose was. They were just a way to get more leverage for somebody.
As to the reason of the crisis, I would sum up as greed and fear. And we're paying the price for greed and fear, not only in China but also around the world, particularly Wall Street. But you obviously at numerous occasions said most of the bankers on Wall Street are more honest and less greedy than congressmen on Capitol Hill.
I don't think I quite said that.
I don't know if you would agree with me that these might be the easiest way to explain the crisis.
No, see, I don't really agree with that. First of all, I think greed and fear are embedded in human beings and have always been there. So you have to really ask the question, is what was different this time than other times? And I think people have been writing books about this for 20 or 30 or 40 years. Okay? So, but if you look at the causal factors of what happened, obviously the housing bubble, not just in the United States, I think it was all over Europe too. I think bad underwriting. People, including us, did some mortgages which were over-leveraged and poorly underwritten. That mortgage problem filtered into Alt-A, subprime, CDOs, SIVs. That's one causal factor. I think another would be, I would call it extreme leverage on the part of some financial companies. That includes some banks globally, some investment banks, some hedge funds, some SIVs, and those things. The great unwinding is taking place. That's very painful. I think there's a whole list of things which I think are additive. They didn't cause the problem, but they didn't make it better. They probably made it a little bit worse. Partially mark-to-market accounting, partially rating agencies. Maybe some of the hedge funds, et cetera, but we're going to be writing about this for a long time to figure out exactly what happened and what we should all learn from it and do about it.
Would you concur that part of the reason is the American consistent way of living lifestyle, which is live beyond your means? Most Americans believe their way of living is the best in the whole world, and this crisis will fundamentally change that lifestyle.
Yeah, I think you're being a little unfair about Americans. There are 330 million Americans, and some are very conservative and save a lot, and some probably live beyond their means. I'm sure that's true in every country of the world. And I do think I think America needs a strong, better fiscal policy, better trade policy. I think those aggravate the situation. And you can look at a lot of people who live beyond their means, and did that cause it? I don't really know yet.
And we saw Greenspan acknowledging in public that he was wrong, that he made a mistake, believing that market would regulate themselves. If you were advising him, would you like him to do that? And will we see more people come out and say they were wrong? It gives people, at least to the audience, a message that an individual or maybe a small group of people were responsible for the crisis.
So I didn't read the whole Greenspan tape, and I think it was referring to is that the securitization, because no one was really responsible from beginning to end, that there were flaws in that. I think that's true. But again, as a business person, I don't find it so bad to say we were wrong. And we spent a lot of time looking at what we did wrong and how we can fix it and what we can have learned from our mistakes. And I think if you look at the best companies in the world, that's exactly what they do. Countries should also do the same. And you look at most countries, they weren't just born overnight. And the best countries, in my opinion, are constantly reforming. They're constantly getting better. They constantly, kind of make mistakes, then kind of rejigger it and reform and get better. Some, do then go backwards for a long period of time. That's what we have to be careful about.
I mean, there are many conspiracy theories about what led to the crisis and what should people do about U.S. dollar, about oil prices, about bankers such as you. And what do you think are some of the wrong assumptions, and what would be the right approach to look at things?
Well, I think the right way to look at it is not to oversimplify. There are a lot of complicated things, and I think people should be kind of analytical and thoughtful about it and not look for easy people to blame. And sometimes there are, but that is actually the rare case.
And do you think the crisis was exacerbated by the failure to deliver timely solution to the crisis?
When you say exacerbated, I would say a little bit. I think this thing moved very fast and unfolded very quickly in a way that no one really anticipated. So I think kind of the regulators, they moved pretty quickly to catch up to it. So, maybe they moved a little bit faster would have made a difference, but more at the margin than materially.
What about the teamwork that we have seen among the world's major economic powers? Do you think they came too late as well, or do you think, thanks to their teamwork and their timely teamwork, that we have been able to prevent the crisis from spreading even further?
Yeah, I think if you step back and look at the crisis, and we're all going to learn as human beings. So, in 100 years, there'll be more tools for central banks and governments how to handle this kind of thing. But I think it's actually fairly impressive how quickly some of the governments and regulators moved to kind of recognize there's a serious problem and then do something about it. I'm sure there are whole sets of people who said they should have known earlier. I'm not sure the people who say that raised their hands earlier and said a lot about it.
We see the controversy over market principles and more regulation concern you. Are you worried that in correcting the crisis, American regulators might go too far?
Listen, I'm paid to worry, right? So yes, I worry about things like that. But I really hope for is what I call better regulation. It's we make it too simple, sometimes more or less. It's really got to be better and quicker and cleaner and more coordinated. And so I think it's in everyone's interest that take place. We're not going to have a world with no regulation. I think if regulation gets so stultifying and bureaucratic that it could actually just slow down the whole world and make things worse. So, I really do think 50 or 75 years from now, we'll look back at some of the tools we had today as kind of very rough justice. They're not scalpels, they're more like axes. And over time, the world will develop better tools to deal with monetary policy, fiscal policy, regulations, and some of that, like I said, will have to be global.
And I don't know how often do you travel to Europe. Most people don't really understand why Europe, it seems, that have bigger problems than the United States. Some say Europe is a collateral damage of the United States because for some countries like the UK, 80% of the banking business are probably extension of the Wall Street major companies such as JP Morgan. Some say they have their own bubbles in the property sector.
Right. I don't think it's either or. I think that, and I'm not going to talk about specific countries, but I think a lot of countries had a housing bubble, not just the United States, and a lot of countries had institutions which were over-leveraged. And you got to look institution by institution and kind of country by country. But there are a lot of European companies that are fabulous innovators. So you can, if you name me a bad one, I can name you a good one in almost any industry. And so again, what I worry about is in our industry is who are the good ones. I know there are going to be some bad ones, but the good ones are ones that keep me awake at night.
Let's say in 2009, what kind of new world financial landscape will we see? Because some banking institutions will fall, and maybe countries like Japan will go into recession, and maybe the position of Shanghai will be more important in the world. What kind of new landscape will we see?
It's hard to say that because I think you're going to see a huge reaction to the problems that we've had in the United States and that some other countries have in the financial world. And it's really hard to predict the outcome. Like, for example, in the United States, you have a new president soon, and so I don't really know. I do think certain trends will continue, like consolidation. I don't think it's going to go away. Globalization, I don't think is going to go away. I know there's a lot of anti-trade sentiment, but I think there's too much interest in every country benefits too much from it to let it just disappear. Now, if you read history books, I've been wrong about that. Really dumb things have happened for really bad reasons, but I hope it won't this time, so I'm kind of an optimist that way.
In our interview with Sir Howard Davies, the former regulator from England, from the UK, who is now the chief of LSE, he said it is highly possible that London might replace New York as the world's most dominant financial center in 20 years, partly because particularly American financial system, combined with politics, will become more, or should I say, increasingly protectionist. Is that possible?
The American system? Boy, I hope not. Listen, when you travel the world a lot, I see a lot of anti-trade and protectionist behavior in just about every country, and I think a lot of that is people are afraid of what they've seen happen and they blame it on trade. Now, trade has nothing to do with that. Trade actually created a situation where 2 billion people were lifted out of poverty, but I do think people get worried and we have to be very careful about it. If I was speaking as an American, a New Yorker, yeah, I think if you want to maintain your competitive edge, it's not a God-given right. You have to have the education, the legal system, something that attracts people and attracts capital. And so, London does a pretty good job at that, New York still does a good job at that, and Shanghai does a good job at that, and I think the world's going to compete and let the best person win.
And you're confident that just like the old times, the Wall Street will emerge from the crisis an even stronger financial community?
I'm not. I think I worry about JP Morgan. It'll be changed. Everything changes, and so Wall Street will change just like the auto industry changed. And people forget that I think in the 1920s, the United States was something like 10,000 car companies or companies involved in the production of cars. So, but I think some of the things that Wall Street exhibits that are good, like innovation, speed, that'll continue. But as you know, that happens today around the world, and not just in New York City.
And speaking of cars, since you just mentioned it, the automobile giants in America seems to be among the first to see the impact of the crisis on the so-called real economy, and steel companies might come second. To what extent do you think the real economies will be affected, and will we see a negative GDP growth in the U.S. very, very soon?
Like I said, I don't spend a lot of time forecasting. I think it's very hard to do. But I think with all of the worldwide turmoil and the recent numbers you see of lower sales, lower spend, et cetera, yes, it definitely, I thought we've been in a recession for a quarter or two, so, and maybe that'll show up in the numbers this quarter.
And one of the most fundamental challenges of all human beings, organizations right now, is that we're facing or addressing 21st century new challenges with, in your words, old tools. Most of the tools that we're using, concept theories, et cetera, are centuries, if not decades old. So what kind of new tools do we need to address new crises?
When it came to Bear Stearns, the regulators didn't really have the legal right to take over Bear Stearns and have an orderly unwind. So JP Morgan ended up buying it, but if JP Morgan hadn't been there, what might have happened? And then we saw down the road what happened with Lehman. So one is regulators need enough tools to handle this. I think regulators need more counter-cyclical tools. Right now, almost everything is pro-cyclical. When it starts unwinding, accounting, accountants, regulators, rating agencies, how people move their money market funds, everything makes it worse. There's very little that makes it better. So I think regulators will eventually need tools to kind of put the brakes on a bubble, put the gas on when the economy needs it in a little more regular way. I think there'll have to be plenty of global coordination. It's very hard to regulate some of these things in one country and not expect to get out of hand in another.
There has never been an efficient international financial governance structure, or should we say international financial system, ever since the breakdown of the Bretton Woods. And right now it seems both at the Asia-Europe meeting and the forthcoming Washington Global Financial Summit, something will come out of it. So if we are lucky enough to forge something like that, what do you think it should look like?
I don't really know yet. I think you're going to see a lot of governments be interested and involved in that process. And again, if you take a long historical view, which I think you should, a lot of the things that are in place, like the IMF, the World Bank, the United Nations, things that have happened, after World War I or World War II, we'll have more structures like that. People will be more closely involved. They'll spend more time in collaboration, making sure things are done properly.
尽管吉米·戴蒙在刚才的专访当中呢，谦虚地表示他还称不上是华尔街最有影响力的人，但是呢，他掌控的摩根大通无疑是这场金融风暴中最大的赢家之一。有人说，摩根大通能够躲过次贷危机，在金融风暴中成功并购贝尔斯登和华盛顿互惠，依靠的是运气。但更多的人说，摩根大通靠的是他们独具慧眼的前瞻性的决策。
一场100年难遇的美国金融危机把华尔街5大投行拖下了水。雷曼兄弟申请破产保护，贝尔斯登和美林先后被收购，高盛和摩根士丹利转变为商业银行。美国最大的储蓄银行华盛顿互惠银行宣布倒闭后，第6大银行瓦乔维亚也开始寻求买家。不断升级的次贷危机，纷纷倒闭的金融机构，让2008年秋天的华尔街提前进入了隆隆寒冬。然而摩根大通公司却是个例外，在华尔街的严冬里，摩根大通不仅经受住了次贷危机的考验，更成为这场金融风暴中的一个赢家。2008年3月17日，位于纽约麦迪逊大道的贝尔斯登总部大楼大门紧闭，$2如今成了一只贝尔斯登股票的价格。而在1年前，作为炙手可热的金融股，贝尔斯登每股的价格曾经一度高达$170。原来就在前一天的3月16日，摩根大通公司宣布将以每股$2的出价收购对手贝尔斯登公司，总价大约为$2.36亿。85年风雨历程的美国第5大投资银行贝尔斯登定于3个月后关门停业。这一收购得到美国联邦储蓄委员会和美国政府支持，这也是自1929年美国经济大萧条以来，美联储首次向非商业银行提供应急资金。此后2008年9月25日，摩根大通又宣布收购联邦存款保险公司手中的华盛顿互惠银行的银行业务中所有存款资产和部分债务。就这样，摩根大通通过竞标程序收购了美国最大的储蓄和贷款机构华盛顿互惠银行。此次交易对我公司和公司股东有着重大战略意义。摩根大通董事长兼首席执行官杰米·戴蒙说，其实早在次级贷款市场还十分繁荣的时候，摩根大通就选择了退出。2006年年底，摩根开始抛售其持有的次级债，他几乎将$120多亿的次级抵押贷款悉数抛尽。同期，诸如花旗银行、瑞士银行、雷曼兄弟、美林等竞争对手们却无视市场给出的任何危险信号，大肆开发基于这些工具的金融产品。从2007年信贷危机爆发到今年第2季度，摩根大通在高风险的 CDO 及杠杆贷款方面的亏损仅为$50亿。相比之下，花旗、美林证券、美国银行的亏损分别高达$330亿、$260亿及$90亿。在这一市场，较少的亏损就意味着更大的胜利。这些具有前瞻性的决策让摩根大通在这场100年一遇的巨大金融风暴中屹立不倒，成为能与美国银行抗衡的全美最大银行之一。
随着全球金融合作越来越密切，中国的金融机构近年来也是一直在积极的投资海外的金融机构和资产，而海外的金融机构呢也纷纷抢滩中国。我们再来看看现在的数字和版图。
从刚刚公布的中资银行中报披露情况来看，中行、工行、建行、中信银行以美元计价的投资总额较大，分别为4400亿元、1679亿元、1671亿元和322亿元人民币。其中与美国次贷相关的债券投资分别为1893亿元、315亿元、264亿元和109亿元。中西各银行为此分别计提了206亿元、48亿元、46亿元、1亿元拨备。雷曼破产后，与之相关的债券面临很大风险，而工行、建行和中行就披露分别持有1.5亿美元、1.9亿美元和1.3亿美元的雷曼债。目前，国内证券及保险业机构涉足美国金融领域投资的并不算多。在保险公司中，仅中国平安是有欧洲最大保险金融集团之一富通金融集团4.18%股权。在证券业，国内首支 Q 底基金华安基金公司受雷曼兄弟申请破产拖累。与此同时，外资金融机构纷纷抢滩中国。到去年年底，外资在华金融资产已高达12525亿元人民币。截至2007年年初，在华外资银行营业性机构已达312家。
就在中资机构投资海外金融资产遭受损失的同时，很多海外的金融机构呢，却依然将中国看作是国际投资的避风港。中国的金融机构如何在风暴中逆流而上？金融危机后的金融创新何去何从？摩根大通全球主席吉米·戴蒙也和我们分享了他的观点。
Speaking of multinationals' investment in China, some say that at times of crisis, when their headquarters are in trouble, for those who have yet to make a profit in China, will probably wrap things up and go home. And for those who are losing money back home but still making money in China, they might stay longer and they might increase their investment in China. But in the long run, if their home office is in real trouble, they will back off as well. What do you think will happen?
I think you're talking about hundreds of different companies who have different reactions and different fears and needs that was important for their success. I do know one thing, just reading history and reading business history, you can't go in and out of countries. You have to make a real commitment. You have to do it under the laws of the land. You have to be a good corporate citizen in that country. And we do that in almost 100 countries around the world, and I think that's how you succeed. I do think that there are people who start up partnerships. I like having partners with people who want to be in partnership with. We're a very good company. We're going to bring great things to partners of ours, and we hope vice versa is the same. So I do think it's a two-way street how partnerships work, and they develop like marriages.
And right now, the entire world is eyeing China's $2 trillion foreign reserve. People are talking about where this amount of money should go at this time of crisis. What might be your advice on that?
It's hard to give specific advice on China's reserves. I think, look, China has been a responsible citizen of the economic world. It's good for China and it's good for the world that continue. That's what you just talked about is a piece of that. Trade policy is another. Obviously, geopolicy is another. So, I would urge, if it were up to me, I would urge, both the Chinese and the Americans, the Europeans, the Japanese. I tell everyone, let's be mature. We've seen the world go through a lot of disasters. And working together, it will be a far better world than not.
And also, it has been a very big topic and challenge for Chinese banking community, which is what are the right lessons and wrong lessons for us to take from this crisis. We saw some of the Chinese financial institutions hit hard by the crisis because of the acquisition they've made overseas, and we don't know whether it is the right move to make if another Chinese commercial bank go out and purchase equities on Wall Street. So if you were leading one of those Chinese big commercial banks, what would you do?
I would urge you, if you're going to make an investment in something, I wouldn't judge the success of that investment because of the stock price over 6 months. Warren Buffett, one of the world's famous investors, says in any investment you should look at it, that you made the investment and you're throwing away the keys, and how do you do 10 years later? So I really do think that's important. The stock market is one measure of what you've done. So I would expect Chinese banks to be competitors overseas. And I would urge anyone, be careful with your partners, invest wisely. Don't always put your money ahead of your brains, and make sure you're doing business with people you trust and have given you reason to trust them.
Yeah, but politics always trump economics. There has always been controversies over Chinese companies taking an equity in a major U.S. corporation. Will we see more of that?
Look, listen, you see a lot of debates about that, but I think Chinese who've earned U.S. dollars have the right to invest those U.S. dollars, and we've been in favor of Chinese investing in America, whether it's companies or debt, etc. And if they buy companies in America, that could make total sense too, and I expect that to happen. I know politically there's a lot of give and take, and sometimes the legitimate reasons. I mean, so a legitimate reason might be if it was truly national security, but a lot of the things that are presented as national security are pure politics. They have nothing to do with national security, and but there are arguments going both ways. I mean, you can get a lot of arguments almost in any country of the world why that country shouldn't invest in my country, but I can invest in theirs. I just think we should all be kind of adults and mature about it.
Around the world, are you worried that this crisis will prevent countries, particularly like China, who are not yet advanced in terms of financial regulation and financial innovation? Do you think that will prevent these countries from further innovating?
Well, first of all, a lot of us who do business in China think that you're more advanced than you think sometimes. And I think I think companies around the world are going to innovate. I don't think innovation is going to stop because of a crisis of one form or another. In fact, very often a crisis creates another form of innovation that solves the problem that was caused in the past. So, I would expect to see some creative innovation come out of this.
What might be your advice on China's banking reforms? We're still in the process of reforming, and in George W. Bush's words, modernizing our financial system. And just as when the world is banning short selling, we introduced new policies allowing Chinese banking, not banking but securities houses to allow short selling. What might be your advice on our continuous financial innovation?
First of all, from the outside, we look at the Chinese banks. They've done pretty well since I've started visiting China. They've become some of the biggest banks in the world, and things like short selling. Look, short selling again, it didn't cause the problem. I know you can argue where it contributed, but it was not causal. If it was misused, obviously people should be punished. But it in and of itself did not cause the problem.
What might be your advice or suggestions for all of your peers in China, all the professionals and practitioners of China's banking and financial industry? What do you think are the right lessons for them to learn from the crisis?
I think one of the things which we always do as a company, which is important, I don't think this is financial, but we spend a lot of time talking about what we did wrong. Making sure we've got the disciplines in place, which is, reporting, thinking about it, analyzing it at a very detailed level. People are surprised sometimes how much we'll go through in business reviews, how we operate. We always compare ourselves to our best competitors out there. We always ask the what if it gets really bad question. What if you're wrong? So it's not just what the PhD mathematicians are saying, but try to use a little common sense. And I think if you do all those things, you're still going to make mistakes. Hopefully this will be smaller and not so devastating to a company, but business is a little bit of a batting average. You're going to make mistakes. And I learn watching everybody how they do it efficiently or competently over time.
China is a living proof of how constant reforming can change a nation, economically and financially. We're in the middle, in the process of furthering and deepening our financial reforms. Some are worried that what might be the lessons we took from this crisis as to our financial system. What might be your advice on our, say, financial practitioners, the bankers, and the regulators?
I think China has been less affected than anyone else around the world, and so congratulations to China. You can learn a lot from looking at the mistakes other people have made, and I wouldn't overreact to them. I'd be kind of thoughtful about it. Some people say even history doesn't have 20/20 hindsight. We're still rewriting history from hundreds of years ago as we look at it from many different angles. So I'd be a little cautious about drawing too quick conclusions. One of the things I'd like to say about China is I find one of the things that China does is excellent, which is always thinking ahead 5 years, 10 years, 25 years, and your 5-year plan about energy and environment. So I think that's a very good thing for countries to do, is to really plan ahead. Infrastructure, energy, environment are the things that really make a difference to their populations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
我们今天请到的演播室的嘉宾呢是英国施罗德投资管理公司中国的总裁高朝生。他们公司呢主要是在中国投资 QDRI 和 QFRI。那么高朝生先生本人呢也是在华尔街工作了20多年，本人也是康奈尔大学的金融投资学的博士。那么高博士，我想首先请您点评一下刚才我们经济频道与这个摩根大通全球的主席做的这样一个专访。我们特别提到，有些人认为摩根大通之所以成为这场危机最大的赢家是运气，是时机好。那么还有人说是他们的判断好。您是认为究竟倾向于哪种答案？
我觉得从本身来讲，之所以在这次风波当中，这个摩根 Chase 能够留下，也就是说呢，两个重要的原因。第一个是它本身的主观原因，第二个是它的客观原因。那么从它本身的主观原因，应该说呢，它对风险的控制比其他银行要好。那么只要在过去的几年当中，那么在次贷危机爆发之前，那么在华尔街上一个最热门的一个投资产品就是我们讲的 CDO、CDS 这些东西。那么当时来讲呢，这个摩根大通就没有做这个。为什么呢？因为他说我对此不太了解。那么当时他的同行在笑他，说这么好的盈利机会，你为什么不做？那么现在看来呢，应该说谁笑到最后，谁笑得最好。那么他认识到这可能是带来很高的利润，但是当我意识到它带的风险是我无法承受的时候，那我宁肯不做这单。那么从现在回过头来看呢，因为这是一个非常明智的一个决定和一个决策。那么从客观原因上来讲呢，当时他们没有做更多的 这个衍生产品或者这个次贷产品很重要的一个原因是什么呢？因为当时美伊银行和这个摩根大通银行在合并，
对，
那么合并之后，两家银行在进行结构调整，没有更多的时间来处理说我应该投资什么，我不能投资什么东西，所以呢，也就是说呢，从客观上来讲，它躲过了这段时期，使得呢，它在这些衍生产品当中没有更多的一些敞口，这样子使得呢，它受到的挫折或者打击就不是那么大。
说得非常精彩。那么刚才我们在和吉米·戴蒙先生专访的时候，也特地问他对于中国投资海外该怎么看？那么现在似乎有3种观点。今天早些时候我们节目当中的向斌先生有一次跟我交流的时候，他说我们中国应该一口气买国外20家银行的资产，因为我们分不清谁好谁坏，买20家有3家最后成了我们就赚了。前两天呢，樊纲先生就跟我说，他说我们中国就压根不应该买，因为我们看不清楚，我们没有这个能力，没有做好准备。那么吉米·戴蒙先生说我们应该买，但是我们应该瞅准就买那么几家最好的银行的资产，您怎么看？
因为我觉得对于中国的公司，你如果想投资海外，我觉得现在客观来讲应该是一个机会。应该说这种机会可能未来的10年、15年呢，未必再会出现一次。但是在中国的公司在决定是否向海外投资，我觉得你投资3家还是投资30家，并不是那么重要。那么最重要的是什么？有2条你必须控制住。第一，你是不是真正了解你想买的公司？你对它的资产负债表，你对它的经营模式，对于它的商业模式，对于它的这个公司文化有多少了解？你是不是真正的了解它？这是第一条。那么第2条呢，就是你要想你买了它之后，你能不能控制得了它？因为它有自己的文化传统，那么它有市场上有它的客户，那你能不能真正的做到能够掌控它？所以这2条因素你能够把握的话，你来讲是一个很好的一个投资机会。
稍后我们将会继续请的金融投资专家高超生先生，我们的节目继续进行，广告之后马上回来。